have a passionate message, the solution to a problem, a new book or product launch, and want to impact a new and expansive audience, PSI TV is the Netflix of biz brands. We give content creators a TV experience. Our guest today is Jeremy Miner. Jeremy leads the sales revolution that transforms sales teams by disrupting traditional market strategies with his new model of selling. He has the record-breaking performance results to prove it, and he's a sought-after trainer speaker. In order to serve his global audience, Seventh Level Communications has offices in Dubai, Australia, and the United States of America. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hey, Trudy, thanks for having me on. That's a warm introduction. Like I said, my kids always say I'm boring, so thanks for the compliment. I'm coming live to your audience here from our Scottsdale, Arizona offices, so I'm excited to be here with you today.
Awesome. So Jeremy, many people kick off their business expecting support from family and friends. And while this might be a great place to start, that's not always the option for many. And if you already have a book of business that's kind of getting stagnant, that's really not going to work either. So Jeremy, can we talk about how a new business or a stagnant business can actually reach out to a cold market?
Yeah, well, I think and to answer the first part of that question is, as you know, you cannot build a business based off family and friends. That's more like a hobby, right? You're not going to scale a company doing that. And if you're stagnant, you've got to think outside the box of where you're at compared to where you want to be. And I think how to answer that is one of the biggest myths that most entrepreneurs, especially newer entrepreneurs and business owners, really buy into is that they all think they have the best product, they've got the best service, and that if they just go out and tell their prospects and the market that somehow everybody's just going to line up and just want to buy it. We call that product pushing. Okay. So one thing we have to understand is your prospects in the market are more cautious and skeptical about making the wrong buying decisions than they've ever been. Now, why is that? Okay. So one of our clients, Brennan Kane, I don't know if you heard of Brennan. He's the author of a book. It's a bestseller, New York Times bestseller called Hook Point: How to Stand Out in a 3-Second World. And he said there are actually over 3 billion, this is crazy, 3 billion content creators every day that are trying to take away your prospects' attention from what you're offering. Okay. You're even competing with 15-year-old teenagers on TikTok right now, right? Now, how many content creators do you think there were 20 years ago? Less than 1 million. Now there are over 3 billion taking your prospect attention away from you. And because of the information age we live in with the power of the internet, and especially social media, your prospects are being sold to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, month after month, year after year. And when I say that at events, people are like, oh no, I'm not getting sold to all the time. We're not out being sold. And I'm like, oh, really? I want you to think about your life. You wake up in the morning. What's the first thing you do? You grab your phone and you look at what? Your Facebook, your Instagram, your social media, and you see what? Ads trying to sell you something. Right when you wake up, you walk into the kitchen, you're like, oh my gosh, I need some coffee. I'm tired. I got to get to the office. You turn on the TV. What do you see? Commercials trying to sell you something, right? You get into the car to drive to your office for work or wherever you're going to run errands. You turn on the radio. What do you hear? Radio ads trying to sell you something. You drive down the road. You see what on the sides of the road? Billboards trying to sell you something. You're at your lunch break. You get back on your phone and social media. You see your aunt trying to pitch you her latest, greatest MLM. See, we're constantly being sold to 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. And because of that, human beings as a society, we have built up a wall of resistance anytime we feel that someone is just trying to sell us something, okay? So we have to become what we call problem finders and problem solvers in the market, not product pushers, okay? Because in our day and age, you have to be even, I would say, even better at problem finding than even problem solving, because if the prospect doesn't buy from you, you really can't solve their problems, right? You have to be better at problem finding. And that means asking the right questions but at the right time that helps the market or your prospects find problems in their mind that they didn't even know they had. And I think as an entrepreneur or a business owner, let's say you're a salesperson or coach or whatever you are, if you're an entrepreneur, you're really a salesperson too, right? You're out selling what you're doing. We have to realize that most of your prospects don't even know they have a problem when you first start talking to them. Or maybe they know they have a problem, but they don't realize how bad the problem really is. Or maybe what the consequences are if they don't do anything about solving that problem. Now, once you learn, advanced questioning that anybody can learn, not only are you able to help them find one problem in their mind, but maybe you're able to help them find 2 or 3 or 4 other problems they didn't realize they had, right? Because if we can't help them find those problems in their mind, it's impossible for them to ever feel the need or urgency to want to do anything about that, right? Now, what are most entrepreneurs? Like I said, most entrepreneurs, especially in the beginning, they're called product pushers, okay? They're, we get out there, we ask a few consultative questions about the needs of the client, like, John, what are 2 problems that are keeping you awake at night? Or, Mary, what type of solution are you looking for? What type of budget do you have to solve the problem? Now, these are all just surface level questions that are only going to get you surface level answers of what's really going on. And then what do most people do? They go into their pitch, talking about the features and the benefits of their product and service and how they have the best this and the best that, which, Trudy, by the way, how many salespeople or entrepreneurs do you know that try to sell you something that say, well, yeah, our products is 5th best in the market? Nobody does, right? They all say they're the best, all right? So it's like taking a bucket of mud and throwing it up against the wall, hoping and praying that something we're going to say is going to magically trigger the prospect to want to buy from us. And that's, we call that hopium. It's a drug that so many business owners are on, where they just hope and pray that something they're going to say is going to magically trigger everybody to want to buy from them. And it's such a hard and unpredictable way to really grow a business and make a living. So you want to be a problem finder, problem solver, definitely not a product pusher. That's the way to do that.
And definitely, if you are, depending on family and friends, you are probably a problem pusher, a product pusher. And I like that word hopium. I really do.
A hopium drug. There you go. That's trademark there. You trademark hopium drug. Go take the hopium drug.
All right. Well, is there a difference then to this process that you're kind of alluding to?
Okay, so we are selling the results of what that thing does. So let's say if that you sell, I don't know everybody on here, but let's say that you're a business owner and you sell cybersecurity to banks to weed out fraud for their customers. I'm just throwing something out there, right? You're not selling the software. You're selling the results of what that software is going to do, which eliminates fraud or identity theft. If you're a real estate agent, you're not selling them a home, you're selling them the results of what that home's going to do for them. Maybe they want to be in a safe neighborhood or more status, right? If you sell insurance, you're not selling the insurance policy, you're selling the results of what that policy is going to do when the spouse dies and the family member's protected with their children. That's what you're selling. So we have to, as entrepreneurs or business owners, salespeople, whoever you are, we want to learn what are called, we call these NEPQ, stands for neuro emotional persuasion questions. And these are called consequence questions. It's just kind of a form of NEPQ, right? So we have to ask consequence questions really after we've helped them see what their future is going to look like once all of these problems are solved. Okay, so here's where they are right now. If you guys can see my little analogy, my hands here, here's where they are. Here's their current state, their current situation. Here's where they want to be. This is their future. We call that their objective state. Now, what's the gap? The gap are all these problems that you're questioning have helped them find that they have that maybe they didn't realize they had. So once they start seeing what it's going to look like, once that gap is solved, the problems are gone, how their future is going to look like, you want to rip that away from them with a consequence question that gets them to defend themselves on why they have to change now. Okay. So I might say something like this. I'll give you kind of a generic one here, a couple of generic ones, something like, I might say, so what if you don't do anything about this though, and you keep, and you're going to peel back their problem, whatever it is. So what if you don't do anything about this though, and you keep X, Y, and Z for the next 3, 6, or even 12 months from now? Like what happens then? Or I'll give you an example. I was just working on this. I got this other script up here in front of me. I'm working on it right before I got in here. It's a company that sells lead generation services to Fortune 1000 companies that buy leads from them to get better quality leads. Okay, so they might ask in there, it's like, okay, but what happens if you don't do anything about this though? You keep getting these lower quality leads that you mentioned to your sales team, and your sales keep stagnating the next 3, 6, 12 months from now. See, that's a consequence question where they're like, oh my gosh, if we don't do anything about this, what's going to happen next? Or what are the possible ramifications, John, if you don't do anything about solving this? Or have you thought about what would happen if your company doesn't do anything about this? See, those are consequence questions that allows them to question their way of thinking, that allows their current situation to keep happening. That in turn helps them build urgency in wanting to do something now, not down the road. You with me?
I'm with you. And you mentioned that NEPQ, that unique method.
Oh, that boring, nerdy stuff.
Yeah, what is the NEPQ again?
Well, NEPQ stands for neuro emotional persuasion questioning. So my background is human behavior and psychology in college. That's what I went to school for. And NEPQ is certain questions we use in a step-by-step structure that gets the prospect to actually want to open up to us, actually want to engage with us. One thing we have to understand, I think a lot of people, like if you're outside of behavioral science and human psychology, which not everybody's in that field, but most people in sales have never really got into that, is they don't understand that the way human behaviors think, okay? There's certain reasons why a person is persuaded and not persuaded. It's not because you have the gift of the gab. Typically, if somebody talks too much, like the gift of the gab, they're an average salesperson to a below average salesperson, okay? The greatest salespeople of all time are the best at listening and the best people who ask questions that allows the prospect to want to open up. But one thing we have to understand is that within I would say the first 7 to 12 seconds of every single sales call or interaction you're on with the prospect, your prospect is subconsciously, they can't even help it. Okay. We can't help it as a human being. We are subconsciously picking up on people's social cues. Okay. We're picking up on their verbal and nonverbal cues from their tonality and what you are saying and or asking that triggers their brain to react in one of two ways. Now, if you're in a sales situation and you're coming across aggressive, if you're coming across needy, like you need the deal, or if you come across attached, that's the key word. If you come across attached and you don't know the right questions to ask and the right tonality and to ask them, it triggers the brain to go into what we call fight or flight mode. Now, a lot of people have heard of flight or flight mode, but they don't understand why it happens or what that actually means, okay? That's where the prospect, as you know, Trudy, tries to get rid of you very fast and says like, oh, I'm too busy right now. Can you just call me back later? We're good. We already have somebody that does that. We don't have the money for that. Can you just send me more information on my email? Can you just email me a quote or proposal? Call me back a week, a month, a year later, right? Does that ever happen to anybody on here? That's because you're triggering that by what you're saying and or not asking at the beginning of that conversation. Now, once you learn NEPQ, neuro emotional persuasion question, you come across more neutral, like unbiased. You're not really sure if you can help yet. You don't know enough yet to even know. How could you, right? You come across more calm and especially detached. That's the keyword, detached. And you ask the right questions. It triggers the brain to become curious enough where the prospect actually wants to engage, actually wants to open up to you because they feel like you might have something to offer them that's important, okay? So we have to learn as an entrepreneur, a salesperson, a business owner, whatever you are, we have to learn how to become detached from the expectations of making the sale and really focus on whether or not there's a sale to be made there, whether or not they have problems that we can actually solve. Now, do I mean when you get in a sales situation, you're not wanting to make the sale? Well, hell no, right? Your goal is to make a sale in that or interaction or progress it towards that, depending on what type of industry you're in. But you have to keep that to yourself because the moment your prospect feels like they're being sold to is the moment they emotionally start shutting down. See, are you with me?
I am. And I in the animal kingdom, the predator can sense fear and all of that. And I think we underestimate humans. I think we can sniff it out too. So that person who is so attached to that sale and so needy, yeah, even if you've not been schooled in psychology, we have a way of picking up on that.
It's like hashtag, get rid of the commission breath. Like you have to lose the commission breath. Like it's very bad. Like you need to have some good breath there. Hey, right. Trudy, if they want to learn more of those questions, because I know I just gave you a few, I always forget this, but they're welcome to go to our Facebook group. www.salesrevolution.group. So salesrevolution.group. And right when they join, somebody on my team we'll tag them a free training called the NEPQ 101 mini course. It's just like a small mini course, different questions they can use for different sales situations that they're going to be in to help them make more sales. So they're welcome to do that if they want to learn more about that, for sure.
Perfect. Perfect. And Jeremy, couple of things here. You are the host of a podcast.
Yep.
Closers are losers. I was curious about how a closer is a loser, to be honest. And before you get there, you're doing the rounds, you're appearing on podcasts, and you're here on TV with me. So I'm going to assume that that's something that the people who follow you would probably copy as well. Before you tell me the whole value of being omnipresent, tell me about the title Closers or Losers.
Well, closers or losers obviously doesn't mean that when you're closing sales, you're a loser. Okay. Closers or losers mean if you think of yourself as a closer, like I'm just out the ABCs of closing, I'm just always closing, you are going to lose a ton of sales that you could make, right? If you keep using traditional selling skills that trigger sales resistance, that cause objections, you're going to get some sales, but you're going to lose tons that you could be making, like our clients are once they learn NEPQ. So we want to train you how to become a problem finder, problem solver, not a product pusher. Instead of the ABCs of closing, we're going to train you how to use the ABDs of selling. ABDs of selling, that stands for always be disarming. You have to disarm the prospect continually throughout your sales process to get them to want to open up and go below the surface. Otherwise, you're never going to get anything below the surface with most of your prospects, and you're going to get a lot of objections. You're going to be chasing prospects over all the time. You're going to feel like you're in a boxing match every day, getting beat up to win a sale here or there. We'd rather not get you in the boxing match. We'd rather just have you have a lot of fun as a salesperson and make a ton of money because you're helping way more people solve their problems. So that's why we have that term closers or losers. Plus it slaps people in the face, treated like, what? I'm a loser because I'm closing? That doesn't make any sense. So that's why we have that. It's good branding.
All of you guys that are on the ABC, always be closing. Listen, always be disarming.
Always be disarming. And as far as the omnipresence, it's all about, we started the company 3 years ago. We're a new company. But it's just that branding, that omnipresence of, our Facebook group, our IG, like everything we do, all of our advertising, being on podcasts. I'm on like 5 podcasts a week for probably the last 8 months. All of that has got us, so we started 3 years ago, and in 2021, we were ranked by Inc. magazine, the Inc. Top 5,000 top fastest growing companies in the United States. We were ranked number 1,232 fastest growing company in any market in the United States. And we were ranked the number 1 fastest growing sales training company in the United States by Inc. magazine in 2021. So that omnipresence helps you get there. It's not just the omnipresence, it's the results you get for your clients. When you get your clients tons of results, and those type of that type of income, if they're a salesperson or if they're a business owner, they're doubling, tripling, quadrupling their sales, even Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies, you grow very rapidly. So it's all about your content, and it's all about the results you get that makes you grow, plus your omnipresence. That's important.
Well, I want to ask you about a new book that you've got coming out, but just on that thought, Jeremy, guys, if you're listening, there's a bunch of you that are guilty. I know you're guilty because you hit me up as a direct message in my inbox, and you are guilty of a lot of the things, your product pushers and all of that. Listen. Jeremy has got the goods, and he is offering you a free training when you go to salesrevolution.group. So join that, get his training. You'll be tagged, you'll get the training. But let me jump back real quick because I want to hear about this book you've got coming out, Jeremy. I know it's probably not quite ready for the market yet, but we want to just put that teaser out there so that people are looking for it and crossing their fingers and counting.
Yeah, so the book is already done. It's been done for about 3 months. It's called The New Model of Selling to an Unsellable Generation. Okay, so it's written by myself and the co-author, Jerry Acuff. Jerry Acuff is already a best-selling author. He's written about 6 really huge sales books over the last 20 years. He's the CEO of a company called Delta Point Consulting. It's a very large sales institution as well. And Jerry and I got together on a podcast about 1.5 years ago, and we just really hit it off. And we're like, let's write a book together. Okay. So book's been done for about 3-4 months now. We're in the final negotiations with a really big publisher. We're really excited about it. And it'll be released sometime in the fall of 2022. I didn't realize writing a book took so long. I thought we could just write it and it would just be there on the bookshelf like 3 months later. It's literally like, once it's even done, it's still like a whole year's process. I mean, unless you're going to self-publish it, but we're actually going through like a major publisher. So you'll see it in Barnes and Noble and some of the old bookstores. It'll be all over the place. So we're excited. And the thing about the book is you're going to learn the difference. You're going to learn why and how, like how and why the consumer has changed. Like, why is it different? Why can't you just sell the way you've always have? Why can't you use sales techniques from the 70s or 80s or 90s or, that have been repackaged and now are called consultative selling? Why have, you've gotten here in your sales ability, but how do you get here? Like, are the same skills that have gotten you here going to get you here? Everybody knows the answer. So we're going to give you those skills in the book. You're going to learn the difference between the old model, the new model of selling NEPQ, and how the old model is triggering sales resistance. That's why you get so many objections. And how do you actually, what questions do you need to ask in your sales process that actually prevents most objections from even happening? We call that objection prevention. It makes selling so much more easier, so much more profitable when you get rid of most objections. So that's what you're going to learn in that book. And you're going to learn how to get your prospects to open up to you and tell you what their real problems are, the root cause of the problem, not staying surface level with you, and how the problems are affecting them even personally. And that's where change comes, when you get them to that emotional state. And that's why they want to change. And that's where you can make a lot of money as a salesperson, or if you're a business owner, that's how you can scale your company, become the industry leader, the trusted authority, the trusted expert in your marketplace.
It's definitely an unsellable generation these days, for sure. Jeremy, thank you so much for being our guest on PSI TV. Ladies and gentlemen, salesrevolution.group. It's going to take you into Jeremy's Facebook group, and someone in his team will tag you. You will get access to a free course. And guys, I'm telling you, even if you are in the dating world, you are still selling yourself. So we are always in a way where we are trying to influence someone's decision somewhere along the line. Yeah. And we need to ramp up our skills, because the distractions are just continuous and the generation is truly unsellable, and we have got to learn some new tricks. So I invite you to check out salesrevolution.group. Thank you, Jeremy, so much for being our guest today. Anything else that you wanted to share, by the way?
No, Trudy thinks it's an honor. And you hit it right on the head. Everybody's in sales now. It doesn't even matter if you don't get paid a commission, right? If you're a business owner, you're trying to convince your team to follow your vision. What are you trying to do? You're trying to persuade, you're trying to influence, you're trying to move others, right? If you're an employee trying to get your boss to give you a pay raise, you're trying to persuade, you're trying to influence. If you're an attorney trying to convince the jury that your client's innocent, you're trying to persuade, influence. If you're a mom trying to get your kids to do homework or something at night, you're trying to persuade, you're trying to influence. So everybody in our day and age is trying to persuade, convince, or move others. So yeah, if they want some help, just have them go to that free group. We'll tag them a free training. We don't even charge. It's like give them a little hors d'oeuvre so they can learn about us, and they can reach out if they want additional help and really get them where they want to go in their skill level, for sure. Thanks for having me.